The story begins with the discovery of the body of a wealthy businessman named Andrew Marsh in one of the luxurious mansions. His death appears suspicious, and video materials are found at the crime scene, showing his intimate relationship with a woman named Rebecca Carlson. It soon becomes known that Andrew left her a significant portion of his fortune in his will. The police start an investigation and soon identify Rebecca as the main suspect. The accusation is based on the fact that she used sex as a weapon to cause Marsh a heart attack and get his money. Rebecca Carlson is an attractive, confident woman who does not deny her relationship with Andrew but rejects the murder charges. Her defense is taken on by an experienced lawyer named Frank Delaney. Frank is a smart, insightful man who believes in his client's innocence. From the beginning of the trial, it becomes clear that the case will not be easy. Prosecutor Robert Garrett, a skilled and ambitious lawyer, is determined to prove Rebecca's guilt at any cost. The trial becomes the center of attention. During the trial, Garrett claims that Rebecca deliberately manipulated Andrew, using his weaknesses and fascination with her. He presents evidence to the court that Andrew was aware of his heart problems but continued to see Rebecca, who, he claims, knew about the possible consequences. At the trial, videotapes found in Andrew's house are shown, confirming the turbulent relationship between them. Meanwhile, Frank Delaney works on a defense strategy. He strives to show that Andrew Marsh was an adult capable of making his own decisions and that Rebecca could not predict the outcome. Frank tries to counter the accusations, emphasizing that Andrew had his own motives for the will and that their relationship was based on mutual passion. Furthermore, Frank tries to present his client in a favorable light, showing that Rebecca was simply a woman caught in circumstances beyond her control. As the trial progresses, more details are revealed. It turns out that Rebecca and Andrew had a very complicated relationship. The court hears testimonies from various witnesses, including Andrew's friends and acquaintances. One of the witnesses, Dr. Alan Pelsman, Andrew's personal physician, states that he repeatedly warned him about his weak heart and recommended avoiding stressful situations. Pelsman confirms that he warned Andrew about the possible consequences if he continued his promiscuous sexual lifestyle. However, this testimony also hints that Andrew consciously ignored the doctor's advice. As the process continues, through cross-examinations, Frank manages to create doubt in the minds of the jurors. He emphasizes that the prosecutor builds the accusation on conjectures and assumptions, not facts. Frank points out that Andrew had financial problems and might have transferred his fortune to Rebecca as an act of trust, not under duress. Moreover, the lawyer highlights that Andrew was a thrill seeker who could expose himself to risks. During the trial, Frank begins to realize that he himself has fallen under Rebecca's charm. She attracts him not only as a client but also as a woman. Complex relationships develop between them, and the lawyer becomes increasingly entangled in his feelings. This affects his professional activity, as he has to balance personal experiences with the necessity of defending his client. Meanwhile, Robert Garrett tries to increase the pressure on Rebecca to obtain a confession. He considers various options, including the possibility of involving witnesses from her past. However, each new twist in the trial only adds drama and makes the case's outcome even more uncertain. It soon becomes clear that Rebecca had other relationships on the side. This information comes to light during the trial and further damages her reputation. Frank, defending his client, argues that such information is irrelevant to the case and cannot be used as evidence of her guilt in Andrew's murder. However, the influence of this information on the jury's opinion becomes palpable. Despite the pressure, Frank continues to search for evidence of Rebecca's innocence. He conducts his own investigation and finds a clue related to Andrew's financial affairs. It turns out that the businessman had not only heart problems but also financial difficulties, which he hid from others. Frank suggests that Andrew's death could have been caused by stress related to his business dealings, not just his relationship with Rebecca. At some point, the trial takes an unexpected turn when new evidence emerges. The found evidence confirms that someone might have interfered in Andrew's affairs, possibly trying to turn him against Rebecca. This discovery gives Frank new grounds for defense but also increases his suspicions about Rebecca herself. In the climactic moment of the trial, the jury decides Rebecca's fate. Weighing all the evidence and arguments presented, they deliver a verdict of her innocence. This is a great relief for Frank, who did everything possible to defend his client. However, after the trial, Frank discovers evidence that changes his perception of the whole situation. He finds Andrew's will, which clearly shows an intention to manipulate those around him. This discovery raises suspicions in Frank that all this time he might have been just a pawn in a clever game orchestrated by Rebecca. Frank confronts Rebecca, and she, feeling that there's no point in hiding the truth, admits that she indeed manipulated the situation for her own interests. Her confession shocks Frank, who realizes he has been a victim of her charm and deceit. As a result of the conflict, Rebecca attempts to escape, but she is stopped by Robert Garrett, who has also been monitoring the developments. In the final scene, a dramatic conclusion unfolds, during which Rebecca dies. Frank is left alone, reflecting on the events and realizing he was part of a complex and dangerous game. He must live with the consequences of his decisions and experiences, which have forever changed his life.